World War I, the Great War, a conflict that would change the course of history forever, a conflict so devastating it was hoped it would be the war to end all wars. The scale of destruction was unprecedented, with entire cities reduced to rubble and landscapes forever altered. From 1914 to 1918, Europe was engulfed in a conflict that would reshape the political and social landscape of the world. The war saw the mobilization of millions of soldiers and the involvement of numerous nations. Millions of soldiers and civilians perished, empires crumbled, and the world was left forever scarred. The trenches became symbols of the futility and horror of war, where soldiers lived and died in appalling conditions. But what were the events that led to this global conflict? The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo was the spark that ignited the powder keg. To understand the war, we need to turn back the clock to the early 20th century. This was a time of great change and upheaval, with technological advancements and shifting political landscapes. Europe, a continent teeming with powerful nations, was a powder keg of tension. The balance of power was delicate, and any small incident could set off a chain reaction. A complex web of alliances, imperial ambitions, and nationalist fervor had created a climate of fear and mistrust. Nations were bound by treaties to defend each other, making the prospect of a localized conflict escalating into a full-scale war almost inevitable. The great powers of Europe, Germany, Austria-Hungary, Russia, France, and Great Britain, were locked in a dangerous arms race. Each nation sought to outdo the other in military strength, fueled by an undercurrent of suspicion and rivalry. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne in Sarajevo on June 28, 1914, provided the spark that ignited this powder keg. The assassination, carried out by a Serbian nationalist, Gavrilo Princip, set off a chain reaction of diplomatic failures and declarations of war. This single act of violence in Sarajevo, on June 28, 1914, would become the spark that ignited the powder keg of Europe, leading to one of the deadliest conflicts in human history. Austria-Hungary, blaming Serbia for the assassination, declared war on July 28, 1914. This declaration was not just a simple act of aggression, but a calculated move that set the stage for a larger conflict, drawing in multiple nations into the fray. Russia, bound by treaty to protect Serbia, mobilized its troops. The mobilization of Russian forces was a clear signal to the world that the conflict was escalating beyond a regional dispute, and it was now a matter of international concern. Germany, allied with Austria-Hungary, declared war on Russia and its ally France. This move by Germany was part of a broader strategy to quickly defeat its enemies on both the eastern and western fronts, hoping to avoid a prolonged war. Great Britain, hesitant at first, joined the conflict on August 4th after Germany invaded neutral Belgium. The invasion of Belgium was a crucial turning point as it violated international law and compelled Britain to act in defense of Belgian neutrality. The world watched in disbelief as Europe descended into the abyss of total war. The outbreak of World War I marked the beginning of a new era of warfare, characterized by unprecedented destruction and loss of life, leaving an indelible mark on the history of the 20th century. Section 4. A new kind of hell, trench warfare. World War I introduced a new and terrifying form of warfare, trench warfare. On the Western Front, a line of trenches stretched for hundreds of miles from the English Channel to Switzerland. Soldiers on both sides faced unimaginable horrors, relentless artillery bombardments, machine gun fire that could cut down men in an instant, and the ever-present threat of poison gas. Section 5. The legacy of the Great War. The war finally ended on November 11, 1918, with the signing of the armistice. This momentous event marked the cessation of hostilities on the Western Front, bringing relief to millions who had endured 4 years of relentless conflict. The armistice was signed in a railway carriage in the forest of Compiègne, symbolizing a hard-won peace. The cost of the conflict was staggering. The war left behind a trail of devastation, with entire cities reduced to rubble and landscapes scarred by trenches and shell craters. The human toll was equally harrowing, with millions of soldiers and civilians losing their lives. Millions lay dead, empires had fallen, and the world was left in a state of political and economic turmoil. The Austro-Hungarian, Ottoman, German, and Russian empires all collapsed, leading to a redrawing of national boundaries and the creation of new states. This upheaval set the stage for significant political changes and economic challenges in the years that followed. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, officially ended the war but sowed the seeds of resentment that would contribute to the outbreak of World War II just 2 decades later. The harsh terms imposed on Germany, including significant territorial losses and reparations, fostered a sense of injustice and economic hardship, which extremist movements would later exploit.